And they're bolstered by a folk hero named the Buzz. 3 weeks ago, the Colorado Buffaloes put themselves on the college football map again by using a little razzle-dazzle and a lot of heart to upset Nebraska. They're now 5-0 in the Big 8 with a chance to go to the Orange Bowl if they can bust the Sooner roadblock. Oklahoma and Colorado next on USA Sports. Today, number 4 ranked Oklahoma will take on the Buffaloes of Colorado. Now, this is the first time since 1962 that 2 Big 8 teams other than Oklahoma and Nebraska have reached this point in the schedule with a perfect conference mark. Oklahoma and Colorado are going for a share of the Big 8 title and a shot at the Orange Bowl, while Nebraska's alive but playing wait and see with one more conference week to follow. Hi folks, I'm Eddie Doucette. Well, this was billed to be the game of the last 10 years in Colorado. That is until midweek when this headline hit and created Rocky Mountain tremors that really threatened to shake the whole foundation of the Colorado football program. On Wednesday, fullback Anthony Weatherspoon was formally charged with second-degree criminal trespassing stemming from an incident in a burglary at a dormitory back in May. Subsequent investigation showed that Weatherspoon, quarterback Mark Hatcher, defensive back William Harvey, and a kicker who's no longer with the team, Steve Natoli, had also experienced cocaine use. Bill McCartney put the checks in order, and he said no disciplinary steps will take place unless the players are formally convicted.
We had some accusations. I've been on a cover-up program. I've been accused of wanting to win at all costs. And the truth of the matter is what we have here is the single toughest drug program in the United States. There isn't anyone that I know of that operates as stringent a program as we do. Essentially, we test virtually every day. We've tested 663 athletes as of Monday. If a guy tests positive once, he's suspended for a year, and we haven't had a single athlete in our squad test positive during the entire course of this season. I never would have guessed that that could happen in this day and age, but it has.
How has it affected your team in preparation for this game?
Well, it hasn't affected our team in preparation for this game because essentially this whole drug thing would only draw us closer because we have no guilt. We have a close-knit, great group of kids that don't have a drug problem, and so as all this is surrounding us, it only draws us closer.
Kyle Rote Jr. has joined me, and unfortunately, Kyle, all of this has really diminished the significance of this ball game here today. How do you really think it'll affect Colorado's performance?
Well, despite what Bill says, the sideshow has got to affect the team just because of the distraction, and particularly because in this game, Oklahoma can win the game so many different ways. Colorado has only one very delicate chemistry way to do it, because the formula for success for Colorado has got to involve 0 turnovers, a low-scoring game, and an offense that is able to hold on to the ball for a lot of time possession. You don't do that without a lot of concentration, and I think this has been a big distraction.
2 very good wishbone teams. Colorado is going to have to be at its absolute best, and in order to do that, the defense is going to have to take charge against this Oklahoma team here this afternoon.
Well, they've met a big challenge earlier this season going against Nebraska. It was a defense that against Nebraska had the ability to be able to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They were able to make a lot of tackles for losses. Players like Kyle Rappold and others on the defensive line got a lot of tackles for loss, and as you see, just put the Nebraska Cornhusker team at a real disadvantage going on to win that game 20-10.
Here's Kyle Rappold making a play 91. They call him the trash compactor. He will try and make trash out of Oklahoma here this afternoon. Oklahoma, and we'll take a look at them when we return. This is going to be a good one from Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado, when we return.
To know no boundaries, to let yourself run free. To know no boundaries is what the world should be.
Wherever there are investment opportunities, Merrill Lynch is there with the help you need to make the most of them. Because at Merrill Lynch, we believe your world should know no boundaries.
To know no boundaries.
I own a PC and a VCR, a condo on the beach, and my own company. But I don't own a car. I lease with GMAC. For me, leasing was smarter than buying. It's just good money management. Since I worked out the terms with my GM dealer, I can pay less each month. It was easy. Now I've got the new car I want, and leasing frees up my money for other things.
GMAC Leasing, only at your GM dealer. For you, it just might be smarter than buying.
It's a beautiful day in Boulder, Colorado. This is Folsom Field, and this is the scene for Oklahoma and Colorado in a share of the Big 8 title. This is going to be some football game. We keep saying that. But when you talk about Oklahoma, you're talking about the #1 offensive team and the #1 defensive team in the NCAA. They run the wishbone. There is not a more proficient or productive wishbone, and the man that triggers it all is Jamel Holloway.
And you think he's a senior, but he's only a sophomore. He's a young man that is not only their #2 rusher, but he has backs behind him, 10 of whom, 10, average more than 5 yards per carry. So if Holloway can't do it himself, he's got a bevy in the backfield of speedy backfield runners who could do the job.
And Holloway can run. In one of the games this year, he produced 173 yards rushing by himself. So Colorado's defense is going to have to be at max, and they're going to have to force turnovers. They do have an edge, however, in the kicking game.
Well, the kicking game is an edge, but when you look at that OU defense, it's a defense that has not given up a point in the first quarter of the whole season. So they're going to have to do something dramatic to be able to get on top early.
And I think Colorado will try and do something right out of the blocks to score first. That's very important, and they must be better than their best here this afternoon. There's a lot riding on this one. They're going for a lot of fruit, oranges, and it's just a question of who squeezes home this afternoon. We'll be right back.
We're not a company, but we're
brought to you by Kemper and the independent insurance agents who represent us. For all your insurance needs, ride with Kemper. And by the makers of Tabasco brand pepper sauce. Do yourself a favor, reach for the Tabasco flavor. Hey, there's my favorite mascot. That's Ralphie. This is the most incredible mascot there is in the land. And when he turns into his pen and hits that chute going about 35 miles an hour, no one can quite figure out how they put the brakes on him. It's Folsom Field, Boulder, Colorado. It's just a magnificent setting. Beautiful afternoon for football. Temperature about 58 degrees. Humidity, nice, 29%. Winds, they say southwest 6, but gusting, and it'll get up where somewhere around 20, 25, maybe even 30 miles an hour before it's all over. And a lot riding on this one. Eddie Doucette, Kyle Rote Jr. Kyle, for Colorado, this is a dream game. For Oklahoma, just another hurdle.
Well, for Colorado, starting out the season 0-4, a sort of a nightmare, and at that point they felt the only bowl they had a chance to play for was the Orange Bowl, because at that point they had played no Big 8 games. But right now they find themselves with 7 bowl representatives here in attendance, obviously not only to watch themselves, but to watch the Sooners of Oklahoma. And this game not only for the Orange Bowl, but also perhaps for another bowl appearance for a Colorado team that last year was the turnaround team in the NCAA after going 1-10 the year before, going 7-4, appearing in a bowl game last year.
All right, getting set to kick off, Todd Thompson for Oklahoma. Colorado will send back 2 deep men to receive, and there they are. It'll be M.J. Nelson and Keith Pontiflet. Pontiflet is on the near side and Nelson on the far side, and Nelson is a streaker. And an idea, he averaged 39 yards per return against Ohio State. And there's the series. And of course Barry Switzer, who's been around a long time, has had a decided edge in the series against Colorado. There's the effect of the wind already, Kyle, and we'll see it eddying about down below most of the afternoon.
Well, it would have been a big concern had these been passing teams, but obviously neither one is. And both relying with the option offense. The weather has cleared up dramatically since 2 days ago when the Arctic cold front came through, and apparently later on this week we've got a Pacific cold front. But right now, sandwiched between those two, is a beautiful afternoon for college football.
Oklahoma, they only give up 6 points a game. How will they do today? And they'll down it in the end zone. It'll be Keith Pontiflet, a redshirt freshman. And they'll bring it out to the 20-yard line, and Colorado will start from there. A remarkable comeback for Colorado. Started the year 0-4, losing the first game to Colorado State. Close games the rest of the way, and have won their last 5. Here's the man in the eye of the storm, Mark Hatcher. He is the Colorado version of Jamel Holloway. Doesn't pass a lot, as you can see, but neither does Holloway. A very effective young man. He's the junior from Pasadena. In the backfield, they run the bone with Weatherspoon, the fullback. Keep an eye on him. Marquez and O.C. Oliver. And Oliver on the call. Tries to get a couple yards and does. And tackle in the middle by Dante Williams, the nose tackle, a freshman for Oklahoma. Offensively, Hatcher the quarterback with Weatherspoon, Oliver, Marcus, Drew Ferrando, and Embry are the receivers. They don't really use them a lot, but the line, they'll need them a lot. The man in the middle, Eric Coyle, is a very important ingredient, as well as the 2 guards. Hatcher, 2nd down 8. O.C. Oliver right out of the chute, looking for the halfback option pass intended for Marquez. Bosworth is over there, as well as Ricky Dixon, and it's incomplete.
Sonny Brown putting good pressure on the backfield.
Defensively, the Sooners, oh so tough with Mantle, Reed, Williams, Bryan, and Troy Johnson. The man that everybody will be eyeballing is Bosworth with Migliazzo, 2 good ones. Secondary, Brown, Vickers, Dixon, and Derek White. They are number 1 defensively in every category in the NCAA except pass defense, and they are number 3 there. They don't miss much. There's the Boz. You ought to see the shoes he's got on today. Maybe we'll catch a shot of him before the afternoon's over. Hatcher. Busted bone usually indicates pass. And a big rush by Troy Johnson. And a loss on the play. So it'll bring up a 4th, and the number 1 ingredient in the Colorado arsenal will be Barry Helton, the punter.
Barry Helton may want arsenic if his offense doesn't do much better than that right now. Helton, number 3 punter in the nation, but also with the net punting average, number 1 in the nation with net punt.
So Barry Helton back. The deep man will be Patrick Collins. Shading the eyes, fair catch, can't see it. And it'll be downed and saved by John Nairn, a reserve back on the defense. So a break, and again Helton with that good toe gets away a good one, a 56-yarder. And Oklahoma will take over defensively. Or offensively, excuse me. And there he is, Jamel Holloway coming in. I haven't seen very many that can run it the way he does, Kyle, and he runs it with such an air of confidence and almost a cockiness about him.
Grew up in Los Angeles. That's where he learned the option offense. And outstanding athlete. So when he came to OU, this was nothing new for him.
Earl Johnson, the fullback. Johnson on the give to the outside. And Johnson with a pretty good pickup that time. The fullback tackled by Don DeLuzio, the linebacker, number 49. Holloway with Johnson, Spencer Tillman, and Collins, and they'll rotate their backs. You'll see more with Shepard, big Keith Jackson, one of the best tight ends in the land. The tackle, John Phillips, a man to watch. Travis Simpson in the middle. Greg Johnson, the other tackle. Good offensive line. Very quick, good blockers. 1st and 10. And Johnson again. And the tackle right there, Rodney Rogers, the free safety, coming up to help out. Cole Hayes, Kyle Rappolt, and Kurt Koch in that 3-4 set, but they'll move around on that. Reinhardt, Remington, DeLuzio, Schubeck, and there's a story on Remington we'll get to. And the deep backs for the Buffaloes, Tate, Pruitt, Rodney Rogers, and Solomon Wilcots. It's a 2nd down and 6. Tillman and Collins round out the running back field with Earl Johnson. Holloway. And Tillman on the pitch back and out of bounds. Cole Hayes was the man that took him out. But after a pretty good pickup again, and Oklahoma rolling along all right.
Times past, Holloway has fumbled a number of the pitches in those situations when he was in the grasp. But this year, turnovers are not a big irritation for the OU offense. Only 14 fumbles this season.
And there's an interesting statistic right there. Only 1 touchdown in the 1st quarter this year allowed by that Colorado defense. They must do the job today. The question is, how long can they stand being on the field? 3rd and 5. Johnson. DeLuzio and Reinhardt close quickly, and Johnson pulled down and won't get the 1st down, and it'll force a 4th and punting situation.
Todd Thompson will come on for Oklahoma, but a big moral lift now here with the big crowd for the Buffaloes as they were able to stop Oklahoma on after their first down that they picked up with Johnson.
Jeff Campbell is back waiting for the punt. He's a freshman. High punt. Good hang time. And Campbell will take it. Call for the fair catch at the 18. Colorado will take over. And for our local cable systems, we'll pause now for these messages. They're back. It's Folsom Field, Boulder, Colorado. First down and 10. 18-yard line. And again, Oklahoma closing very quickly. Anthony Weatherspoon is right there. Mike Mantle was the man on the tackle. You see the middle of that offensive line, and there's Weatherspoon, and hasn't he had his problems? Although during the season he's been terrific, and according to their coaching staff, Kyle, they say he is an outstanding football player.
Well, he's the one that they have picked on to single-handedly take on Bosworth to try to bozo the Boz. And Hatcher said, you know, I'm not man enough to do it, but I got a guy behind me that is. His name is Anthony Weatherspoon. And we'll see that going on all day long.
2nd and 5. Lance Carl is split out wide left. Weatherspoon again. Bosworth is in on the tackle, but the man that initially tied him up was Dante Williams, the nose guard. They'll test him because he is inexperienced, and at the outset of the season he was like number 3 in the depth chart.
Take a watch at the isolation on Bosworth. 44 reacts to flow, comes back to the inside. He's trying to go on the pitch man. Offside linebacker has the fullback. You see the shoes of Bosworth taped up a little bit. High tops today.
Speckled high tops. Trying to get into the flavor here in Colorado. 3rd down and 1. Weatherspoon's got the first down for the Buffaloes. Good blocking up front by Coyle and the left guard that time to make the move. And that was Bill Coleman, a freshman.
Another important element. It's a very small thing it might seem, but a rushing first down against this OU defense. The OU defense has almost allowed fewer yards to opposing rushers than the offense has scored points. 440 yards they've given up, 418 points their offense has scored.
O.C. Oliver. And Oliver over the 40 to the 45-yard line. Sonny Brown. David Vickers, the deep man in the secondary, there to stop him. And another first down, a 14-yard gain.
Linebackers again. Migliel's on Bosworth. Bosworth comes inside on the fullback dive. Terrific block by Marcus, number 20, who got Bosworth down on his knees. And that has not happened very often to the 1985 Butkus Award winner as the top linebacker in the NCAA.
From the 44-yard line, Weatherspoon. And Anthony is tackled by Migliazzo, one of the linebackers, and with him also Steve Bryant. Richard Reed also on the bottom of the pile for Oklahoma. This is an Oklahoma defense that allows you less than 50 yards a game rushing. That's an incredible number, and second only to the best number in NCAA history in recent years, and that was the '59 Syracuse national champs. 2nd down 7. 47-yard line. O.C. Oliver, and he'll try the right side, get it just a little over the 50-yard line, and it'll be Brian Bosworth. There he is right there on the tackle.
Once again, isolation on Bosworth with the speckled high tops. Richard Reed misses the tackle here, number 96 for Oklahoma. Bosworth there to seal things off. A little post-tackle conversation as he has been known to do.
I wonder if Boz is planning on trying to ride Ralphie before the afternoon's over. He looks like he's about ready to do anything, doesn't he?
That graphic just showed you what they led the nation in. There's never been an NCAA team that has led the nation both offensive scoring offense, defensive scoring, total offense, and total defense. OU currently the leader in all 4 of those categories.
And here's an official timeout here as the referee comes over and indicates the referee, incidentally, John Laurie. So John Laurie taking the time, and he'll send the Buffaloes back to their huddle, start it again, and get that clock rolling. The defending national champion Oklahoma Sooners. And for Colorado, they must win today if they plan to go to their first Orange Bowl since 1976. And then they've got Kansas State next week. 3rd and 3. Hatcher on the roll. And stopped over there immediately. And that time was David Shoemaker who came out to make the initial hit. Troy Johnson also helping on the play. Now, Hatcher's a pretty good little runner, but he and Holloway have shared their problems in that they've taken shots at one another through the media. So they've got a little side battle going on, and now on the 4th down and 3, Helton is in to punt again. Sonny Brown, Ricky Dixon standing back at the 15-yard line for Oklahoma. And here's a high punt. Good hang time. He averages better than 4.5 a game. And it takes an Oklahoma bounce and is finally downed on the play. So for Colorado, down in the football, Tom Stone. We'll be back to tell you about Oklahoma's offense when we return to Boulder, Colorado. And Oklahoma, no score, first quarter. We have 7:59 to play in the first period. And Barry Helton that time only a 28-yarder, but he got a lot of back roll, and that's been a problem all year.
Taking a look on the 4th down play, or the 3rd down play that Hatcher had, where OU's defense swarmed and stopped him.
And they give it to Pat Collins on their 1st down in this series. And Collins play starting at the 23, up about the 27-yard line. Lydell Carr is in at a fullback for the first time this afternoon. Barry Switzer will tell you that Collins is perhaps his best all-round back, running, blocking, receiving. There's Bill McCartney. He's had a lot of problems to contend with this week. A good man, strong man. 2nd and 7. Lydell Carr on the fake, and Holloway. And a good block out in front by Keith Jackson to get Holloway about 5 extra yards before Solomon Wilcots hustle him out of bounds.
To do well on the option offense, you've got to get to the perimeter. And the way they get to the perimeter is they try to hook the linebacker there. Remington 40 misses the tackle, and that allows Holloway to get to the outside, and he has tremendous speed. And as Eddie mentioned, there's the block by 88 Keith Jackson that allows him to pick up very easily the 1st down.
14-yard pickup, 1st down, 10 at the 50. Productive Holloway on the give. Lydell Carr. And pulled on from behind that time by Rodney Rogers. And Kyle, I was so very impressed in watching the films of this fellow about his quickness. He is just terrifically quick.
There's nobody on OU that's not quick. Speedy. Just pure trap block inside, unlike the option that they normally run. 1 missed tackle, a 2nd missed tackle. But a lot of that has due to the speed and the size of Lydell Carr. 230 pounds almost.
There's Carr. And Reinhardt there to greet him, along with Coke, Deluzio. Carr's previous run was a 13-yarder. This time he gets a couple up the middle. Actually 1, so a 2nd down 9, and there's Don Deluzio. They run a 3-4 set. Barry Switzer on the sideline across the way.
They are shading their nose tackle against this OU offense.
They don't really cover their guards either. They'll play the shade or the gaps, try and do different things out of a 3-4. There's not really a standard 3-4. We have a timeout with 6:29 in the quarter and no score from Boulder, Colorado. Here at Boulder, Folsom Field, and it's Oklahoma and Colorado. And the reason why Oklahoma was forced to take that timeout, Patrick Collins had left the playing surface and no one replaced him, so they were a man short. They had to take the timeout. 2nd down 9, 31-yard line. Jamel on the pitch back. And trying to get the running room was Collins, and there to stop him that time on the outside was Mickey Pruitt, the strong safety.
I think there to stop him was the autographed turf here. Let's take a watch here on the option pitch. He's got a lead blocker. Here's the pitch, and as he begins to try to make the cut, takes himself down. And that's a rarity for Oklahoma backs.
I think he may have stumbled on that turf.
They prefer artificial turf. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, because there's a possibility they may go back to natural grass here in Boulder.
3rd down and 9. Lydell Carr on the give. And some missed tackling allows him about 4 more yards before Rodney Rogers and Pruitt combine on the stop. So it's going to bring up a 4th down at very short yardage, and Carr, big strong running back right there, 6'2" and 225 from Enid, Oklahoma.
Well, coming into the game, The word was Weatherspoon was the man who picked up big yardage after the first hit. But Lydell Carr has proven that OU has a fullback like that as well.
10 carries, 59 yards on the series. 5:37 the clock rolling in the first period. There is no score. Leon Perry has come in to the backfield, replacing Pat Collins for Oklahoma.
4th down and they're going.
4th and less than 2. Nobody there on the fake, and there he is.
I believe he still got it.
Well, there was a misdirection, and it looked like it was a set play. He put the ball out there, and then he just went on that draw, that short draw that we had talked about.
Unintentional misdirection because Holloway went the wrong way. The rest of the backfield went the other way. Let's take a look. And that's a broken play for sure. He needed to get the ball into about the 22-yard line. He made it to the 21.
1st down and 10. Collins is back in on the right half side. Holloway, and there's Lydell Carr. There's some good trap blocking up front that time. And on the run by Carr, he gets a 3 or 4 yard pickup. Don DeLuzio, one of the inside linebackers, was the first to get there. Take a look at the numbers the backs from Oklahoma average. Carr 5'4", Earl Johnson 8.5 a carry. Collins averaging around 6 yards a carry. Tillman around 7. Incredible. That's why they average close to 500 yards a game as a team. Holloway. And he doesn't get the job done off the fake to Carr. He's stepping up in there is Barry Remington. And that's quite a story.
Yeah, Remington is the guy that really made the hit. He saw, which is difficult to say for Remington. Let's take a look at the right side line. Remington going through the gap as the double team, which sets up the fullback dive for OU, is going against the defensive tackle. Remington stops the play initially, and then, of course, Kurt Koch is able to take Holloway down.
Remington is a fellow that may need a corneal transplant after the season. He had an injury because of an accident, stepped on some ammonia that sprayed in his eye during the summer, and he can see very poorly out of the right eye. Pat Collins inside the 10, touchdown Oklahoma, and there are no flags.
But there are a lot of oranges on the field that look like flags, and here they come. Referees making a decision today. They're not going to call any penalties because both teams in a position to go to the Orange Bowl. And Oklahoma scoring the first touchdown against this Colorado defense in the last 8 games.
So Collins on the 17-yard scamper with 3:41 to play in the quarter, and Tim Lasher coming in, Kyle, and he has a chance to hit his 130th consecutive point after, which would tie him with Van Tiffin of Alabama for the all-time record in the NCAA annals.
So Van Tiffin is still playing for Alabama, so he'll have a chance to gain it back.
And he's made it. So Oklahoma here in the first quarter with 3:41 to play has taken a 7-0 lead.
Take a look again. There's Rappold on the inside. It's going away from him. That's the one problem with shading your nose tackle, is that it allows the quarterback to option off and can run the option either way, go away from the nose tackle. There's Rappold, 91. He's on the wrong side of the center, and now that allows Holloway to call the option to this other side, and Collins with some nifty moves with his hips to get around the outside. Of course, as all OU backs, a lot of speed and no difficulty for him to take it into touchdown territory.
We'll be back to Boulder, Colorado when we return. 1,941 at Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado, to see who will get themselves a share of the Big 8 title and a chance to go to the Orange Bowl. Will it be Oklahoma? They're kicking off. They've just scored. Or will it be Colorado? Colorado has won 5 in a row. Oklahoma 6 straight games since they lost to Miami. There's Thompson kicking to Nelson and Hartley. And it'll be Nelson. And a good return out close to the 45-yard line. And the kicker, Thompson, was the man that made the stop. So Tom Thompson did his job there in a 40-yard return. And now it'll be Colorado's chance to see if they can get it back. Hatcher will come back in at quarterback. Big John Embry playing the tight end, and I still think they have to find a way to get him the football.
Well, between he and Keith Jackson, the two premier tight ends in the Big Eight, and neither one on a passing team.
Weatherspoon the fullback. Weatherspoon on the carry. Bosworth got a hand in on the tackle. I wonder if they give him an assist on that. They give him everything else. 96 for Richard Reed is the man that was the original hitter, but Bosworth will be all over that ball today.
Well, they try to protect. Part of the strategy of the Oklahoma defense is protect the linebackers, and the phrase they use is to defeat the blockers at the line. They try to eliminate the offensive linemen from coming out of the linebackers if they possibly can.
2nd and 7. O.C. Oliver hit first by Bryan. Bosworth was there, and also Troy Johnson. Well, he can hit that hole in a hurry, can he? My goodness, 4'5", and he is a legit freshman. So we'll have him around here for quite a while. Lance Carl has come out of the game now for Colorado. And Anthony Weatherspoon again. So nothing all that creative about what Colorado's tried to do so far. Richard Reed was there to stop him. And they're sending their best, Weatherspoon, about 240, right at the middle of that defense to see if they can check it out. But he got the first down.
Well, the old saying is, do they mark it with the left foot or the right foot? John Laurie, the referee, says it's going left foot, so that's a first down for Colorado.
7-0 Oklahoma. Bill McCartney. McCartney hasn't been around here that long, 5 years. But he had a dismal program when he took over, and he's turned it around. Mark Hatcher. Marcus. And Marcus is cracked pretty good. David Vickers came up and popped him a good one that time. And my, how that secondary closes in a hurry.
Well, they've had a man in front of them to teach them how to do it. Watch Hatcher. The fullback actually was open that time, but Hatcher decided to keep it on the pitch. Bosworth is a little bit late getting there, misses the hit. But here comes Vickers. And Vickers, who has been known to play cornerback as well as safety, strong safety, shows the strength of that position.
That was an Excedrin tackle. A run for the tablets immediately. 2nd down 8. 47-yard line. Mark Hatcher. And they shut him down from the far side. And on the run that time, it was Richard Reed again. Reed had 10 tackles against Missouri last week, so he is really starting to arrive. He is from Fort Worth, Texas.
This whole OU team has a little bit, we'll take a look again as we see the little play action fake. Embry got tied up by the linebacker, and they're not going to let him get away from the line of scrimmage in any kind of passing situation. And thus Hatcher had no one to look up to. Only one other receiver out on the pattern.
51 seconds to play here in the quarter. A 3rd down situation and long yardage for Mark Hatcher. And JoJo Collins tries to get it out close to the 50 and comes up short. O.C. Oliver, and as he does, Ricky Dixon moves in. So there's Oliver. He's a freshman from Houston, and Kyle, they say that this fellow here wanted to play so badly that he came here because they promised him an opportunity, and he has been able to perform. Ricky Dixon, Sonny Brown, they're back deep. Barry Helton to punt. Oh, look at this one.
Well, Helton got upset last time. Last time he had the punt that hit on the 10-yard line. His team did not cover it. He lost about another 10 yards as it backed up towards him. And Helton this time made no mistake. Perhaps out of frustration, did not kick the ball as accurately as he wanted, and an easy touchback.
52-yarder, so Oklahoma will bring it out to the 20-yard line. Helton's really had a lot of success this year, keeping the ball inside the 20-yard line on punts, and that's a big ingredient for a defense. You put them back inside that 20 about 70+% of the time he's been there, but that time, as you said, he just let it fly.
He's so flexible. He can give you the hang time if you want that. He can give you distance if you want that. He can give you accuracy if you want that.
Stafford and Perry are the halfbacks, and here's the reverse. The tight end, Keith Jackson. And out of bounds at the 34-yard line. So they run the reverse with the big tight end, and David Tate was there, but Jackson got good yards, about 14.
You would think of Colorado as the team that needs to run so-called trick plays, but this has been a bread and butter play for the OU Sooners to try to avoid flow control of defensives trying to read their option flow. And that'll keep people more honest.
And so that'll end the first quarter. Oklahoma 7 and Colorado nothing. Played one quarter from Folsom Field here in Boulder, Colorado. A very large game for both teams. Nebraska, of course, still with an opportunity, but Nebraska's got to play Oklahoma next week. Colorado has Kansas State. So a lot determined here by the outcome of this game here today. Colorado has to win the ball game. And, of course, Oklahoma with no easy task ahead of him, and Jamal Holloway, who has moved his club so far for 92 yards in the first quarter, is sitting on top of a 7-0 lead.
They've got another hurdle next week. It's not as if Colorado was difficult enough. Of course, they have to play Nebraska.
7-0. Reinhardt stopping is Stafford. Anthony Stafford, a backup running back, makes the carry. Also down there was Kyle Rappold. Rappold is the 6-foot, 245-pound junior from Colorado Springs.
Take a look at the line, the unheralded line of the OU Sooners, the way they blow out. There's the double team.
Goodness.
Reinhardt is able to come back and Rappold from the backside. But the OU offensive line really unappreciated.
Cole Hayes just blown out of there that time. Second down. Here's Holloway pitching. Stafford. What a tackle over there on the far side by David Tate. Oh, did he read that beautifully.
Trap option for OU. We'll see the trap move. And here comes the option. Quick pitch. Tate plays off the blocker and makes the tackle for loss. Colorado has a remarkable percentage of tackles for loss this season. They outgained Ohio State earlier. Ohio State now 8-2. Much better team than their record would indicate.
Third down 8 from the 35. Leon Perry. And Rappold was there. Also there was Rodney Rogers, the free safety.
It's going to be short. Going to be short.
So the defense, they knew they had a big task, and they're up for it.
On the replay again, fake the fullback dive. Almost the read pitch because you got a lead man out front. And where his knee goes down, there's the first knee. So they did mark it properly because he fell ultimately beyond the first down marker and now sets up a fourth down situation.
So it's punting time. Todd Thompson will punt to Jeff Campbell, who'll be looking right up into the sun, standing close to the 17-yard line.
Thompson also punting into the wind.
And the ball will bound out of bounds at the 22-yard line. And that is where Colorado will take over. 7-0 Oklahoma with Folsom Field. And for our local cable systems, we'll pause. Now 52 till halftime. Oklahoma 7, Colorado nothing. Hatcher to O.C. Oliver. And as he tries to cut back, Bosworth is there. But you don't have a lot of room to run against this Oklahoma defense. They're number 1 in total defense, rushing defense, and scoring defense. They don't have many holes.
No, despite losing Tony Casillas, Kevin Murphy, Jeff Tupper. Very critical defensive play by OU. They have so much depth, and they continue to recruit a lot of team speed, which makes it help.
New quarterback is Mark Walters, so Hatcher is out. The biggest surprise of their early camp runs with it. And a good run out to the 38-yard line. Paul Migliazzo got a hand on him, and Ricky Dixon came up to make sure he wouldn't go any further.
Take a look at the quarterback that came in against Oklahoma State University and guided the Buffaloes to their final 2 touchdowns in their 31-14 win over Oklahoma State. Hatcher, a much better passer. Excuse me, Walters much better passer than Hatcher. And in fact, he competed against Holloway in Los Angeles during their high school days. And a much better athlete, they say, even than Hatcher.
And there he is. That's O.C. Oliver trying to get outside, and he is swarmed over there on the far side and will go nowhere. And it's Bosworth and Troy Johnson. So even with that excellent outside speed of O.C. Oliver, he could not turn the corner. against the Oklahoma defense. There's Troy Johnson for you, a junior from Houston.
Very difficult to beat, even with an option offense, Oklahoma on the perimeter. The only teams that have had any success, obviously, have been passing teams, and the testamentary performance by Vinny Testaverde as to his Heisman claim is really about the only one that has really been able to do great damage.
There's your update on the total yardage. And we have a 2nd and 12. Mike Walters trying to go that time out of the backfield to Cameron Jones, and it was incomplete. And he was being covered very quickly from the far side by Oklahoma. Migliazzo again involved. Migliazzo and Bosworth, because of the strategy in the set, really get credit for most of the tackles for Oklahoma.
Some of that pressure being put on Oklahoma, despite their success defensively. I shouldn't say despite it, but they do play a stunning defense. Do a lot of twists inside with their linemen. Use Bosworth to penetrate. Try to leave the offside linebacker Migliazzo back for coverage.
Do a lot of that, particularly against passing teams. 3rd down, long yardage from the 36. Play action fake. Walters under a rush. And trying to go over here to the tight end, John Embry. And he is covered on the play that time by Darrell Reed. Darrell Reed, a very important factor for Oklahoma defensively, who is just coming back off a knee surgery. This is his first game. So now you see Barry Helton averaging about 46 yards a kick. Net average right around 43. Sonny Brown and Dixon are back. There's Pat Collins also back a little deeper, so they had 3 men back. Another good punt. And this time Ricky Dixon is dropped almost in his tracks. So good punt coverage that time by Colorado. And Rodney Rogers, one of the first to get down there. Solomon Wilcox was there, as well as Steve Beck. A 48-yard punt here at Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. And they've got it packed right to the tip top. That's a big, big ball game.
Well, they claim they can get as many as 53,000 in here, though, as Eddie told you. Capacity, they say, is a little over 51,000, but a lot of scalping going on outside the stadium today. And with the students, many of them sitting in the aisles and up front, they think they can get close to 53. A lot of danger going on today with the oranges on the field, and it's something you just hate to see. And in fact, it looks as if
the officials have taken the teams off the field until the fans cease throwing the oranges. And they're going to make it very clear that they are in charge, and they will not allow this game to continue until the fans can get themselves under control. I think this is pretty good on the part of the officials. An announcement now being made.
Well, they had not only the oranges, but they had
playing conditions are proper for the continuance of the game.
Also had a 2-liter bottle of soft drink thrown on the field. Admittedly was not full, but
enough is enough, right?
Enough is enough. It's easy enough to blow out a knee on this turf as it is.
There's your referee, John Laurie. And he made a very good, strong move there as
he's a principal of a Springfield, Missouri high school that I happened to speak at earlier this year, and he is a strong disciplinarian from what all the students told me. So
crack a few knuckles, huh?
Yes, he is.
Collins, Carr, and Tillman are in the running backfield now for Oklahoma. They lead 7-0. We have 10:42 to play here in the first half. They scored on a 17-yard run by Pat Collins. Jamel Holloway is the quarterback. And he gives it to the senior, Spencer Tillman. And the 8-1 Sooners gain a couple of yards going off the right side. Eric McCarty, a backup linebacker, was in there to help out number 32. There's Tillman. Very articulate fellow, and we'll hear from him at halftime.
Take a look from behind the Oklahoma offense at Holloway. The move to the right, and Tillman, following his lead blocker, the fullback, is able to move inside and pick up decent yardage. This OU offense, though, is not going to score at anywhere near the 141-point rate they've scored the last 2 weeks.
Holloway. And Tate can't get to him. A quick move by Holloway on the far side, and finally coming up to make the tackle was John Nairn. Here's Holloway. Very quick feet for the young man from California.
Take a look again as OU likes to attack on the perimeter. The team we saw last week, Arkansas, likes to use the option offense to attack on the inside with the fullback. But this is the bread and butter for Oklahoma. Get outside where Holloway's speed, the speed of Tillman and Stafford and Johnson and Collins can be used.
8 first downs now for Oklahoma. Holloway. And Lionel Carr tries to bury himself up the middle, and it's Kyle Rappold, as well as Tom Reinhart, that pulled him down. There's Reinhart. So the second down situation, perhaps a pickup of around 3. Littleton, Colorado, and the brother of Ed Reinhart, who played here before, was seriously injured a couple of years ago, and now is rehabilitated. Lionel Carr. And again, that interior defense makes the stop, and they don't get beyond it. That time it was Kurt Koch, 6'8", 265, a Golden Glover. We want to get in the ring with him. Here's Lionel Carr. We haven't seen too much of Earl Johnson since the first series. Carr was the starter. Johnson, with 2 strong weeks back-to-back, the last 2, had unseated him, and now it's Carr back in there. 3rd and 2. Carr again, not enough for the first down. Tracked right at the line of scrimmage, and it's Koch. And coming up to help, Eric McCarty. What a read by the linebacker McCarty to force a 4th down.
Well, McCarty and DeLuzio rotate out that Eagle linebacker position, and he read the gap, filled the gap, made the guess, and that's what this Colorado defense has decided to start trying to do. Make some guesses, take a little bit higher risk defense to get some stops for losses.
So Todd Thompson will come in to punt, and Jeff Campbell standing at the 13-yard line, and it's a beauty. And it bounces inside the 5, and it'll be down to the 2. How's that for a break? Wow. Well, Campbell did what he had to do. He cleared out of there once it was inside the 10. But the ball kicked back. Oklahoma gains possession, or I should say downs the ball at the 2, and it's a 52-yard punt. It's 7-0 Sooners from Boulder, Colorado on USA. It is 7-0 Oklahoma. And we have 7:55 to play here in the first half from Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. And they'll be starting play from just outside the 1, right around the 1-yard line, on a terrific punt that time by Thompson, the punter for Oklahoma. And of course Barry Switzer was concerned about his punting game, but not so today. And they'll just try and get some up the middle and a fumble it. You don't see that happen very often for Colorado, and Oklahoma has recovered. Wow, what a big play right there. Up off the bottom of the stack that time was Mike Mantle from Miami, Oklahoma. And there he is.
Second cousin of Mickey Mantle. Let's take a look. It's to Weatherspoon, 44 on the dive. They kind of run into one another. One of the changes with Walters not having as much experience as Hatcher would in this option offense. And Walters, a freshman, bumps into Witherspoon and causes the fumble. And boy, don't you know, McCartney wishes Hatcher were in there running this option at that point.
We don't know if Hatcher's injured or not. Haven't received a word. Carr, Tillman, and Perry come into the backfield for Oklahoma. So exactly what Colorado had hoped to do, in that they were hoping to force Oklahoma turnovers, and have committed themselves, and now are in big trouble down at the 2-yard line. And Lionel Carr diving, and he's got the touchdown. So Lionel Carr from the 2, and Oklahoma has taken advantage of the turnover and converted, and now lead it 13-0.
Not much of an opportunity for the Colorado defense to get much help. The offensive line of OU scores a touchdown. Carr in the air cleared the plane, even though he was knocked back by the Colorado defense. But both linesmen were very clear with their call. There's the man that scored the touchdown, now getting ready to protect for the extra point.
And coming in to kick it is Lasher, and Lasher's got another one. So he has 131 in succession, and there's the buzz. His team leading 14-0. We have 7:44 to play in the half. Boulder, Colorado, Colorado and Oklahoma. And the Sooners are on top 14-0. And the number 4 rated team in the nation, showing you how you take advantage of an opportunity on a turnover by driving it in on the very first play. They'll kick off right now. Standing back is Nelson on one side and Poniflet on the other. And it'll be Todd Thompson, who is now calling time momentarily. He wants to check the football, now backs off. I think he thinks that it's going to be blown over because that wind is swirling about pretty good down there. Tough ball to handle right there. And that is Poniflet. He cuts back, finds a seam, and goes to the 25. I'm trying to wrestle him down right there is number 41 for Oklahoma, and that is Richard Dillon.
We'll take a look at the fumble that led once again to the Oklahoma touchdown. Watch the quarterback, Mark Walters and Witherspoon, bump into one another. That causes the fumble and set up the next 7 points for the Sooners. Walters knew as soon as that occurred the ball was on the ground, but the Sooners were there as well.
Hatcher is back in at quarterback now. Oliver, Witherspoon, and Cam Jones are the running backs. And Witherspoon this time cracking over the left guard.
44 against 44, a little pushing match going on after the play as Bosworth was being pushed around a little bit by Cameron Jones.
As we mentioned, Mark Hatcher is the quarterback. Carl has come in at a wideout. Migliazzo has been replaced by Dante Jones at a linebacker position for the Sooners. 2nd and 5. And it's Anthony Witherspoon again. And this time Dante got a hand in on him. 6'2" linebacker from Dallas. And you don't hear much about Dante Jones, but Switzer is always first to mention him when he talks about his linebackers. He said this fella can really play and you never hear of him.
With an option offense, one way to run away from someone like Bosworth is to run the option in his direction because he has the quarterback in that set, and the offside linebacker, Dante Jones, has the fullback pitch, and there again are those.
Aren't those nifty? Are those ostrich high tops, or what are they? They need 2. And Hatcher tries to slice inside, but look at all those white jerseys.
Bosworth will be under there somewhere. In fact, there he is, already standing. He has the quarterback on that pitch.
He's the leading tackler on their team. A big question with Bosworth is, will he turn pro after this year?
Here's a look at Bos, side to side, good lateral movement. Now he'll step up. There's the quarterback inside, and the first hit. Also gets some pretty good help from his teammates.
What do you think, Kyle? He's eligible with his class to graduate this year. He has 1 year of eligibility remaining, however, for football. Will he stay?
Oh, I know what the agents are telling him. I think if they win the national championship this year, he'll leave.
Yeah. First down, so Hatcher with some pretty good running there when he needed it, got it. And the ball at the 36-yard line. Troy Wolf has now come in at a tight end.
But then again, when you talk about Bos, he always does the unpredictable just because it's unpredictable. So you never know.
Ferrando now suddenly coming on to replace Wolf. So Wolf didn't last too long. 1st and 10 at the 36-yard line. And the second man through on the give that time was O.C. Oliver. Oliver from Houston, stopped by Darrell Reed. Another guy from Texas. There's Bosworth with Reed. Well, that is some defense, isn't it? 49 yards on an average is what they allow per rushing game. Oof. A very vocal fellow, very flamboyant guy, a lot of media attention. I don't know whether his teammates resent it or not, but he can play. He backs it up. 2nd and 7. Witherspoon. He gets maybe 2, and there's Dante. Dante Jones is right there. And Richard Reed, one of the defensive tackles right up front. They cracked him right there at the line of scrimmage. Maybe a couple of yards. And now the officials will take a timeout here as a player is slow getting up off the bottom.
Hate to see any player get hurt. That's Steve Bryan for Oklahoma. And it looks like he'll come off under his own power, but that can be an encouragement to Colorado because they've been playing against a team that seem almost superhuman, and to see that they can be hurt can give you some confidence.
Darrell Reed will come in there. Come in there with an extra outside lineman, or in effect an outside backer in Reed. And they'll leave 2 men in the middle. Also, Kilpatrick has now committed a tackle position defensively. 3rd down, 6. O.C. Oliver. And daylight to the 45. Ricky Dixon closing. And the Buffalo hopefuls had something to cheer about on a 15-yard run.
I'll show you the cross-buck angle as Hatcher, flow goes one way, Weatherspoon goes one way. There's the cross, and now you see the shifty moves of O.C. Oliver, who's great opportunity to be freshman newcomer of the year. Here's some of the blocking. Oh, there it was very quickly. And now we're back to live action.
And O.C. Oliver on the carry up the middle, stopped by Ricky Dixon after he picks up a couple of yards. Now we bring on a 2nd down situation. Bryan, who is hurt, is back in there now for Oklahoma, so he's all right. And any guy from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma's got to be tough, right? Cam Jones, number 26 for Colorado. You saw him a moment ago.
Carrying the ball, trying to do some rallying of the troops as well.
Oliver, incidentally, averaging a little over 5 yards a carry. Now a mix-up in the backfield offensively. Weatherspoon, the fullback. 2nd down. And the Spoon trying to drive in. And you hear the crowd going Spoon. Richard Reed was there. Sam Smith has come in now for Colorado in the backfield. Lance Carl is also in at a wide receiver in the 3rd down, and Colorado 3 for 5 in their last 3rd down conversion attempts. Trick play. Hatcher, and it's intercepted. Sonny Brown. And out of bounds at the 50-yard line. Colorado rushing the trick play, and it's intercepted by Oklahoma, their 17th interception of the year.
Well, we've spoken of turnovers as being a key. Here's the pitch on the inside and the throw back. Smith throws it back to Hatcher, and Hatcher has a man open but overthrows him, which allows number 8 Sonny Brown to come over the top and pick it off. Talked about touch. Mark Walters, who's number 8, the backup quarterback for Colorado, has a better passing touch. Hatcher the better runner. And now we've had the passing quarterback cause a fumble. We've had the running quarterback throw an interception.
And another fumble. And it's recovered right there by Leon Perry. Mickey Pruitt was there in case he couldn't get a hand on it. Reinhardt in on the rush.
One more look. Holloway having to go deep as good penetration is being obtained by that Colorado defense. And that's Tom Reinhardt who put the pressure on. Another angle, and the ball pitched just a little bit behind.
2nd and long. Reverse. Keith Jackson.
Got a flag down.
Big pickup on the play to the 25-yard line. Mickey Pruitt again tackling, but a flag. So Jackson from Little Rock, one that got away from the University of Arkansas. And the junior now averaging good yards in that reverse. And they'll bring it back and march it off against Oklahoma.
Actually, they're supposed to go from the previous spot, not from the point of the foul, so should be right at the 30-yard line.
The referee.
See if we can, on the pitch reverse. Here comes Jackson. And there's the clip from behind and a low one as well. Ooh. That's a nice gain and looks pretty good. Pretty nice stiff arm by Jackson. All the way back.
Two split ends have come into the game now for Oklahoma. Cavanis and Shepard. Time remaining in the first half. Holloway. And Rappolt was over there, as well as Tate and Rodney Rogers. And he's still a long way away from that first down. Third down coming up.
Still leave it about 3rd and 17. How often have you seen OU in a 2nd and 31 situation?
Keith Jackson limping off the field, Kyle. He was evidently hit in the leg, kicked in the leg, and he's coming off. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. Also, Stafford has come out of there for Oklahoma. Third down, long. Collins and Johnson in the broken bone, the running backs. And Mickey Pruitt taking down Jamel Holloway. Pruitt was a candidate for the Thorpe Award as the best defensive back in the country, showing you why.
And now another punting situation for OU.
Lots of punts so far here today. And Todd Thompson coming in to make his fifth punt of the afternoon. Now they're saying 4. Jeff Campbell will be back, and it'll be at the 11-yard line where he will be standing. Tries to angle it out of bounds, and it rolls out inside the 15. So he knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't a pretty one, but effective. 14-0 Colorado on USA.
Hello.
Potential spotlight. We'll take a look at the reemergence of Oklahoma's Spencer Tillman. Spotlight Temple University's little big man Paul Palmer. Review our first half highlight stats and more coming up at halftime, and we are 37 seconds away. Weatherspoon and to the 18 and no more. Bosworth and Migliazzo with the stoppers. So Coach McCartney is going to have to rally the troops here. And 20 seconds. They're trailing in the game 14-0.
Well, more than likely they're not even going to run another play. As with 25 seconds to call it, they had 22 seconds, and they're walking off the field towards the locker room.
So that's it. The end of the first half. Kind of an undramatic finish to the first half of football here, with the Oklahoma Sooners taking advantage of a couple of turnovers and in particular the one at the 2-yard line. And as far as our Prudential first half spotlight, Oklahoma leading 14-0. The spotlight, of course, being brought to you by the Prudential, offering a full range of insurance and other financial services. The first Oklahoma score was an exciting one, and that meant that Pat Collins got a chance to put himself to work from 17 yards out.
After an exchange of punts, this was the first opportunity that OU had to get into Colorado territory, and he picked it up 17 steps from the line of scrimmage, and Collins showing the shifty hips and the speed that is a trademark of OU backs.
They added another one after a turnover. The point afters were good, and now at halftime it's 14-0. Colorado nothing, and you have already seen you can't give Oklahoma an opportunity on a turnover at the 2 without them taking advantage. Also, their offensive line has been sensational and something to keep an eye on during the second half. Spencer Tillman has experienced the highs and the lows during his football career at Oklahoma, but through it all he has remained optimistic about where he's going. A very articulate Spencer Tillman. 1983 was when the college football world got its first glimpse of a blazing blur named Spencer Tillman. It was apparent from the first that his speed was matched only by his power. It translated into an impressive freshman campaign, including Big 8 Offensive Newcomer of the Year honors and an Oklahoma freshman rushing record that still stands. There were injuries in '84, and just when things started to turn around in '85, it happened again. This time, a severe hamstring pull sidelined Tillman for the majority of the season. He rushed for only 242 yards that year, well under his '83 production, but it also left him with a maturity that has helped him in '86.
It's kind of unfortunate that injuries happen, but it's a part of the game. And I don't care how much you try to adjust to it through other people telling you and constantly warning you against injury. When it finally happens and it hits home, it's a little different and difficult to cope with.
But Tillman has coped with those injuries and has set realistic goals for his football future.
I personally am not looking forward to, say, 2,000-yard, 1,600-yard season. I want to play consistently throughout the whole season. That's the whole key. If I can do that and stay consistent and convince some pro scouts possibly that I am a capable athlete of maintaining my stamina over a prolonged period of time, then I think everything will work out all right.
Though Tillman has missed prime college years, he remains optimistic because he sees life's problems as opportunities.
That's what life is all about, accepting new challenges and coping with problems, in my case, injury. I'm looking forward to it.
Interesting fellow. We have 14-0 as our score at halftime. Oklahoma over Colorado. When we come back, we'll see another interesting young talent. His name is Paul Palmer. When we return to Boulder, Colorado. Nothing at halftime. We're at Boulder, Colorado, and this is Folsom Field, and the bands, of course, are entertaining. You know, with the 1986 college football season drawing to a close, it's apparent Miami's Vinny Testaverde has a lock on the Heisman Trophy. But there's a running back from a small inner-city school in Philadelphia who's put together some real good numbers, and who knows, in another year, he just might have attracted more notice. His name, Paul Palmer. Until recently, Bill Cosby was Temple's most notable athlete. Well, one step to the right, Cos, because it's time for a tailback named Boo Boo.
They pitch out to Collins. Pat Collins, number 33, and the perimeter attack of the Oklahoma Sooners continues to be devastating here in the Big 8 and all throughout the NCAA. Barry Helton is known as a great punter, but we saw some good punting by the Oklahoma side. Todd Thompson put this one down on the 1-yard line. And as the nose of the football turned over, it hit about the one, popped right back, and was covered by the Oklahoma punt coverage team. That put Colorado in a hole, and right after that, the so-called passing quarterback gave up the fumble that set up this Oklahoma touchdown for Oklahoma to make it 14-0 Lydell Carr with a 1-yard leap. And finally, Sonny Brown with an interception for the Sooners. As Hatcher came back in the game for Colorado at quarterback. Here, overthrowing a wide-open man, Brown with the interception. And Oklahoma able to take the ball down and kill off enough time to maintain their 14-0 lead. Other than that turnover at the 1-yard line, though, Eddie, a very good first
Statistically, here's the way it looks, Kyle. First downs, as you can see, Oklahoma with an edge. Oklahoma with a big edge in the rushing. Neither team has any passing yards at this point, total yards. And as far as attempts are concerned, at least Colorado's tried to pass. Oklahoma hasn't even done that. And only one penalty in the ball game and the 2 turnovers that you mentioned on the part of Colorado. So everything is pretty much true to form so far, including Ralphie, the mascot that we just saw walking off the field. But it's going to have to be a difficult situation for Colorado to come against a team that is just almost perfect in their execution, and their offensive line has been a thing of beauty here in the first half.
I've been impressed, though, with 2 things for Colorado. One is that they've been able to move the ball on the ground against this OU defense. 95 yards they've picked up. As you've mentioned several times, OU normally only gives up 48 yards per game average. They picked up 95 in the first half. Colorado offense did. And they did have good time of possession, holding on to the ball about 5 minutes more than Oklahoma, but it was the 2 turnovers, and we talked about the formula. The formula, low-scoring game, no turnovers, a lot of offensive time possession. The turnovers is what's done in Colorado up to this point.
What has impressed me, in addition to the way the offensive line is moving off the ball, has been the fact that we had heard that Oklahoma did not have much of a punting game. And this afternoon, whether they've taken advantage of the wind or not, I don't know. But so far, Thompson has been terrific in the punting game here this afternoon, and he's put Colorado back deep. And, of course, that was the reason why they forced that big turnover. All right, next week, we'll have an exciting game for you on USA College Football 86. At this time, we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we know we've got a couple of good ones lined up for you, and it will be depending on the outcome of a couple of games this afternoon. So we advise you to check your local listings and find out as we go what we will be bringing to you live next week on College Football 86. Oklahoma 14, Colorado nothing. We're live from Boulder, Colorado.
husband's a...
There's a feeling you get only in a Jeep. And we're back. Eddie Doucette, Kyle Rote Jr. Kyle, some interesting things are happening here as we prepare to kick off for the second half.
Well, OU, having the deferred choice in the second half, elects to kick off. And I imagine it's because they just want to prove one more time to our television audience as well as to the Colorado Buffaloes that their defense can stop them. And rather than take the ball, that's a little bit unusual, but when you've got a great defense, it's often done.
So Thomason will kick off again. There he is, teeing the ball up on the 35-yard line. Nelson and Poniflet will stand back in twin safety. For Colorado, Nelson on the far side, Poniflet on the near side. Do you think Barry Switzer was completely in tune with that decision? He didn't look real happy about it.
Coming off the field, I think he felt one of his captains made the wrong choice because they'd elected to defend a particular end of the field so they'd have the wind at the fourth quarter. Many times when you got four captains out there trying to make decisions, you can get some confusion. Fortunately, he has the kind of team that generally is able to overcome choices if that was indeed a mistaken choice.
Here's the Colorado bench, defending national champs. Keith Poniflet. Well, they kicked into the wind. He got a little help that time, didn't he?
This thing is swirling.
Oh, I don't know.
2 minutes ago, it was blowing out of the south to the north. Now we look at the tapes on top of the goalpost. It looks like it's swirling back towards out of the north.
You know, it would be tough to make a decision based on the wind, considering that the wind is varying and changing from moment to moment. Mark Hatcher will start Colorado off here in the second half. They had the youngster Walters in there. And, of course, it was while Walters was in there that they fumbled the ball, and Oklahoma got their second score. So here we go. Weatherspoon, Oliver, and Marcus, the running backs. Hatcher and Bosworth is right there. So Mark Hatcher goes down in the Boz. He talks a lot, but backs it up.
Well, we talked about when you're running towards Bosworth on the option, his man is the quarterback. Offside linebacker has the fullback dive, and now Bosworth with great foot speed, and he really has a tremendous instinct. One reason he has so many tackles for loss this year is because he's able to read an offense, step in the gaps, and as we saw right there, make another tackle for loss.
O.C. Oliver and Bosworth again. There he is.
248 pounds.
And now the Oranges come thundering down to the turf below. And the officials are going to have to call it again.
Here's Bosworth again on the replay. Sees the gap inside, and he's the offside linebacker, and he fills in there. And Hatcher's wondering who would win a 40-yard run between he and Mr. Bonnes.
You know, you watch Bosworth, and his form is almost picture perfect. He sets up there, he gets down low, he's got good balance, got a good solid base, and he's in a position to make a tackle almost every time he's confronting a man with a ball.
Very important. Keeps his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Yep.
So the third, the Oranges, a third down and long. Play action fake. And Hatcher trying to go to Drew Ferrando, had it tipped away that time. And it was Derek White was the man that tipped it, deflected it. And so a fourth down coming, and Barry Helton will have to come in and punt. Helton's from Little Simla, Colorado, and he had 34 tickets come today. That's bigger than the whole town that he comes from. There he is. Patrick Collins deep. Just up ahead of him is Ricky Dixon. They have three men to cover the punt in the event that it's short. Not this time. And a big hit right there.
Steve Beck.
Wow, the captain of the special teams on a 47-yard Helton punt, and Beck with a big crack. And so Oklahoma will take over at about 33.
One more look at Helton. This one doesn't nose over. And Oklahoma they have the return on. They've got two front men trying to stop the penetration, but how about that shot?
There's Beck. And that's his job. Johnson, Tillman, Collins. The running backs and flags and whistles. We haven't had a lot of those. Only one penalty in the entire first half, that by Oklahoma. But they stopped it right there. And a procedure call coming up against Oklahoma. Well, that's a 5-yarder. It'll move it back and make it 1st and 15.
See the move on the front line for Oklahoma, being their right guard, Anthony Phillips, and he's the one that makes the move. It gets the yellow flag.
Carl Cabanis has come in as a split receiver. First down 15, ball at the 28-yard line. Jamel Holloway is the quarterback. Earl Johnson the fullback. And it's a fake to Johnson and Holloway. And they shut him down immediately. Tom DeLuzio. He was there. Barry Remington was there. And on the bottom of it was Rodney Rogers. Rogers closing in from the free safety spot.
That one defended about as well as you can do defensively. They stopped the fullback dive. We'll see the block down for Oklahoma, trying to get against Remington, number 40. He spins out of the block by Greg Johnson, 75. And as they continue to play off blocks, another good job done by Darren Schubeck, number 90, to turn Holloway back in.
Second long yardage. DeLuzio almost got Holloway and he broke it. And Rodney Rogers at the 50-yard line. Slowed him up and he stumbled to a stop.
Difficult to believe that a 180-pound quarterback can stiff arm a defensive end and get away with it. Here's Holloway, gets to the outside. And here's Tom Reinhart, who gets a stiff arm. And Holloway continues to pick up big yardage. Their number 1 rusher is the quarterback.
21 yards on the carry. That's Earl Johnson. Earl had over 200 yards a couple weeks ago against Kansas. And DeLuzio made the stop. And somebody down and on the ground hurt.
Should be Cole Hayes.
Well, Hayes has been taking some tremendous shots from the offensive line.
Here's Reinhart. There's Cole Hayes on the double team. And he's already down. He'll spin back up, and as he turns around, hello. Gets hit on the side of the helmet. That's a 3-on-1.
That was a good recovery against Oklahoma by the redshirt freshman, but watching him in the first half, they were literally blowing him off that line 3 to 5 yards and coming at him hard.
We talked about there being the perhaps unappreciated offensive line of Oklahoma, and particularly when you double team, it's almost impossible to beat it. We'll be back with more. It's 14-0 Oklahoma.
On the first carry here after the break right there, and in on the tackle again, Reinhart and Rodney Rogers.
They're trying to hook Reinhart. This time Reinhart is not hooked. And as he goes to the outside, we'll see him play off the block. There's he's playing off the block and makes the tackle. Keith Jackson, all-conference tight end, unable to make the block on Reinhart.
Young man that we've seen and heard about this afternoon, Tom Reinhart. He's just a sophomore. And now it's a 3rd down. Pretty good yardage from the 46. Single set. And that's Earl Johnson. Barry Remington, inside linebacker, was there. And it'll be a 4th down and about 3 yards coming up. There are the goggles that Remington has to wear.
Rappold gets hurt here. Let's see if we can see how it happens. Again, he's playing shade. He gets hit down by the guard, and they're pulling to trap out. It's Greg Johnson. Good tackle, though he doesn't wrap him up, but still short to create the 4th down.
Todd Thompson is in to punt. Standing at the 10-yard line is Jeff Campbell. There's Thompson into the sun, wants hang time. Campbell runs away from it, and down they are again, inside, and about the 7-yard line. So 2 terrific punts by Oklahoma, and playing a Colorado-style football game. And it's Oklahoma 14, Colorado nothing, with 10:26 in the 3rd period. Known as the Bogs.
Quoted this week as saying, I don't see them scoring unless it's on a trick play. We're going to take another look at the punt here by number 91, Todd Thompson. the sophomore, who was pretty much unheralded coming in, but he's had 2 of his punts stopped within the 10-yard line. This one at the 6-yard line, which is where the Buffaloes will start. Had one in the first half, stop at the 1.
Strategically located, averaging 38 yards a punt. And on the carry that time, Colorado just trying to get some running rooms, and that was Weatherspoon. And the big fullback, who has had off-the-field problems, stopped at the line of scrimmage.
Well, he had an on-the-field problem that time. He got stood up by Bosworth, and on the offside, what they were doing like rabbit punches in a boxing ring, as Bosworth's teammates came in and added to the pressure.
Well, he makes a believer out of you, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Bosworth is legit. 2nd down, 7-yard line. They gained 1 on the last carry. Fake. The keep. And Hatcher to the 20-yard line. Vickers and Nixon.
Oh, you playing the keys. Watch. Bosworth takes a false step because he's going with the fullback. Key, that's his key off the line. Now he comes back the other way. He realizes Hatcher has pulled it and is going back on a little bit of a solo reverse. And always near the ball when the whistle is blown.
1st down and 10. Hatcher, OC, and Oliver outside, and the pursuit was there.
Bosworth again.
Bosworth was there. Also into the tackle was Darrell Reed, and running without the effects of a recent knee operation. You can't get outside on them, you can't get inside on them, and I can see where they would yield less than 50 yards a game rushing.
Bad news. O.C. Oliver has just gone off the field for Colorado and is limping.
And now they bring young Nelson, M.J. Nelson, the kick returner in. He's a freshman from Simi Valley, California, in to replace him. So they got some inexperience back there now. 2nd down, 7 at the 22-yard line. And Hatcher rides the big fullback into the line. And pick one. They're all over him in the middle. Bosworth is there. Bryan is there. Reed is there. They've got 2 Reeds up there, and they're not related.
2 years ago, Barry Switzer said, if you don't stop us in 1984, you're not going to stop us in 1986 because I've got a young team. Same situation Colorado is in right now. They're only going to lose 6 starters next year, 3 off the offense, 3 off the defense. They're going to have another good team next season.
3rd down, about 5. Hatcher to throw. He'll get his 1st down. And Sonny Brown comes up and knocks him down at the 35. But another 1st down, and a flag is on the ground.
Well, offensive holding. One of the linemen, as he was scrambling, grabbed on to the jersey of one of the OU defenders. That's at least my call. Let's see if they do it. Yes?
It is. So that wipes out a big 3rd down, third down situation where they gained the 1st down.
Here's the offensive line. It's going to be on the right side as the scramble occurs. Hatcher comes out, and now there it is right there, 69 holding on to it. Eric Coyle, the center, who the pros think has a good shot at playing at that level. They don't allow holding either.
There's your call by the referee here at 8:09 in the 3rd quarter. That's the 1st penalty call against Colorado, and the Bogs just kind of directing things from the sideline or from the side on the field and getting a cue from the bench on the side. And now they set up defensively for Hatcher. Drew Ferrando, number 25, has just come in, and John Embry has gone out. Mike Mennel is also in. Darrell Reed has come out defensively for Oklahoma. Nothing. Troy Johnson. And so Hatcher trying to make the pass can go nowhere. And it'll bring up a 4th and long, and Barry Helton again.
Well, Troy Johnson was under pressure because Sam Smith did not make the block on the outside. There's Smith, 34, misses. They double team on one other player. And that allows Troy Johnson to come in unimpeded. And an open receiver down the field, Lance Carl.
Patrick Collins is standing at the 40. Helton to punt in a nice little wobbly spiral. Fair catch call for it to 39, and that's where it'll start. And Oklahoma has had the much better of it as far as field position off the punts here this afternoon. That a 51-yarder by Barry Helton, but still tough when you're playing against the Sooners. They lead it 14-0. The Sooners are leading it 14-0 in the third with 7:29, and for Colorado, they've not been able to get started with good field position yet today. They haven't had a chance to get it to start in Oklahoma territory.
6 punts, 2 turnovers, started in their own territory all the time. OU, for their part, has started in Colorado territory twice, including the 1-yard line on the fumble in the first half that set up the Lydell Carr touchdown to make it 14-0.
Lydell Carr on the carry, and Eric McCarty, who is a converted fullback, the tackle. He is now playing linebacker. There's Lydell Carr. Last year we covered the Freedom Bowl, in which Washington played Colorado. At that time, McCarty was a fullback. He had his choice going into the season. He decided he wanted to be a linebacker. He's done well. And the ball handed to Stafford. So Anthony Stafford gets a few yards off the left side, and now it'll be a third down and getting close to first down territory. There's Stafford. You don't hear much from him, but look at that, averaging 8 yards a carry. Only had 10 touchdowns in last week's game as a team.
Even if you take out the 82-yarder, he'd be averaging about 6.7.
Can you believe that score from their game last week, 77-0 over Missouri? 14-0 here, however, with 6:20 in the third. And he breaks the tackle. And Holloway finally stopped by David Tate. Or is he tricky?
Bread and butter part of the OU offense. Very early read by Holloway that he's not going to give it on the fullback dive. And there's the elusive ability of this young sophomore who plays like he's been doing this his whole life. Again, this year has had very few fumbles. Major improvement in his game.
He gets the first down. They're at the 47-yard line. Holloway keeps. There's that option. And Holloway inside the 40-yard line. All kinds of black jerseys there. Rodney Rogers again. Reinhardt was there. Tate was there.
Many times you try to tackle a quarterback high to try to strip the ball. Holloway, that's a mistake because he's got such good stiff arming ability. There's one. Here comes another. And you almost have to go low on him.
And he's only a sophomore. Second down, 2. Lydell Carr, and the quick hitter. And he is stopped, but I believe he got himself another situation where they have a first down. That's right, Remington the tackler. Well, they're methodical about how they slice you up, though, aren't they?
That play has consistently picked up 4 or 5 yards. They're in the wishbone set, but it's just power football, trapping football on the line.
Now, you said it right there, the line. You keep coming back to that line. Just outstanding blocking up front. 295, 280, 265, 280, 275 across the line. Carr again. And this time it was Rodney Rogers. So you see what's happening. The tackles, the majority of them are being made by the linebackers, and in many instances, the deep secondary.
Free safety is so important to protect against a wishbone offense. He's got to be up filling the gaps. But that gap was filled about 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
There's Keith Jackson, number 88, who just came in. Duncan Parham, another tight end, is out. And there's Lydell Carr. Second down. Short yardage. Holloway. They didn't get it. And what a job he does of riding that back with the ball into the line and then drawing it out at the last moment.
And we've got an injury. Remington on the tackle. Let's watch number 40, the linebacker play. McCarty and 40 Remington. Remington's going to make the tackle. He has quarterback assignment on the pitch. He is there. And Holloway, I believe, is still down.
Well, Kyle, that means if Holloway can't continue here, Eric Mitchell, his backup, who is a sophomore from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, will come in. And they don't really lose
not much
a
of a drop.
No,
No.
I mean, he had 4 touchdowns last week in that rout over Missouri. But he does pretty much the same things.
See if we can see what happens here as Remington makes the tackle. Pulls down on the shoulder. They took his helmet off very quickly. Perhaps was in pain. But could very well have hit on the shoulder. Mitchell, they say, is an even better athlete. They're both sophomores than Holloway. Difficult to believe he could be a better athlete than Jamel after what we've seen him do today and throughout the last 2 years.
Here's an interesting comparison. Holloway averaging 6.4 yards a carry for the year. Mitchell, although not carrying as many times, averaging 6.4 yards per carry for the season. So you said it right. You don't lose a lot.
Well, one thing about Mitchell in the passing game, though we've not seen much passing at all today from either team, is that he doesn't throw many interceptions. Has 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions, where Holloway has 5 interceptions for his 3 touchdown passes.
Holloway also today 87 yards on 13 carries. Look at number 75. There's the right tackle that's done such a job on Cole Hayes. He's 6'4", 295. Greg Johnson. 6'4", 295.
You know, you were asking a few minutes ago who would believe the 77 points against Missouri. Kansas would, because they gave up 64 the week before.
How about the bandana, huh? That might have been a birthday present from Barry Switzer.
He might have got a finger in the eye. It looks like he's holding the left eye, trying to refocus. One more time, McCarty and Remington. Remington plays off. He's going to fill the slot. And here's the look. Hand up. Still didn't see it, but they're looking at the eye.
Eric Mitchell, the quarterback now, trying to get the job done in a 3rd down situation, and that time it was Spencer Tillman. Hope you enjoyed our feature on Tillman at halftime. Kyle Rappold, the trash compactor, buried him along with Barry Remington, and there is Jamel Holloway. He got it in the eye, he did.
Our producer Gary Dubin telling us maybe Kurt Koch, defensive tackle, may have gotten a hand in there before the Remington ultimate tackle.
14-0 Oklahoma. 3 minutes in the 3rd. And Tillman on short yardage with a 4th down. He needed 1, trying to get the 1st down. And he looks like he may have gotten it. Well, we talk about the execution of the offense, Kyle. You got to remember that Oklahoma has yet to give up a rushing touchdown this year.
Remington on isolation, fills the gap, sees the block, tries to defeat the fullback, and he does make contact. Does defeat Lydell Carr, 45. They're blocking against him. But where it's marked, I'm going to say it's a 1st down by at least the length of the football. They do indeed bring it in.
And if they get the 1st down, they would be perfect on 4th down conversion attempts, 2 for 2. But let's find out as they bring in the chains.
I'm going to say the back side of the football is 6 inches on the mark. Let's see. Made it by at least 6 inches. Let's see.
There it is. Easily. You figure that stuff out like you figure the tips out on the checks at the restaurants, right? Oh, good to have a calculator along with me. Holloway is back.
And that, he was crying a few moments ago, but that's going to force the Colorado folks to be teary-eyed as they see him come back on the field.
Clock continues to roll. We're under 3 minutes in the 3rd. Holloway, and gains an extra yard, perhaps, after the initial penetration. Cole Hayes, who was hurt earlier and is back in there, made the tackle. Little Jamel Holloway, 5'10" and 180.
They're going to take him off because the trainer came on the field. Holloway is going to have an ankle injured on this tackle. Spins out one more time. Well, talked about how he avoided tackles high. There you see his right leg pinned back. Holloway comes off, so Mitchell has to come on because the trainer came on the field.
They're really concerned about Holloway, and there's young Mitchell. Reinhardt has gone off defensively, replaced by Tom Dunn for Colorado. There's Mitchell, flags, whistles. Stop everything, fellas, on a 2nd down and 10. Darren Schubeck was right around the ball. He was the Big 8 Defensive Player of the Week last week. And then a procedure call coming up against Oklahoma, Lydell Carr.
Eric Mitchell knows what's getting ready to happen. He's already walking off the field.
Just a breather. That's all they needed, right? Your referee here. And a nice, clear, concise indication from John Lowry. Oklahoma has won 9 straight games in the series. And if you were with us early, you find out that they've won 38, lost 8, and tied 1 overall. Holloway back. 2nd down, long. And again, whistles and flags. And
Greg Johnson, 75, right tackle.
Big boy trying to beat his man to the neutral zone.
Switzer now gets a flag for coming on the field.
Barry Switzer sure did. Oh, unsportsmanlike conduct by Barry Switzer. Well, get the markers out, boys. I think we're going to do some marching. They need a drum beat. Let's see what it is. Right? Procedure. Oklahoma. Pick it up again. All right. With the drums roaring in the back. There they go. This is a biggie.
Well, he was flapping his arms, so that's a sideline warning. If your hands are straight out, it's unsportsmanlike conduct. I'm not sure which one it was. In any event, the ball is moved back.
And now Barry says, come on over here. Now he's on the field. You folks good at reading lips. 25 yards and penalties against Oklahoma. And that moves the ball way back. It's just inside the 50-yard line. And that'll give Colorado a little bit of breathing room. And also a time to adjust their defense.
Well, we had a 2nd and 31 earlier. Now they're facing a 2nd and 35 in the second half. I don't think OU's offense has seen this very often this year.
Rappold is right on the center's nose. And now Holloway is going to call for time. A timeout has been called by Oklahoma as the crowd is starting to get into this one. And there's Barry Switzer talking with Jamel, and he'll go to the phones to talk to the press box upstairs. With 1:52 to play in the third, Oklahoma 14, Colorado nothing. Oklahoma 14, Colorado nothing, with 1:52 left in the third quarter from Folsom Field here in Boulder, Colorado. Cavanis and Shepard are the wide receivers. It was a 2nd and 9. It is now a 2nd and 35, Mr. Switzer. Stafford and Collins are the running backs back there with Lydell Carr. And there's Lydell. And he tried to cut back to the far side, and Rodney Rogers was the first to get there. Mickey Pruitt was also in on the tackle. So the safeties have really had a busy afternoon.
Carr picks up 9 yards, but still leaves it 3rd and 26 now. They do not want to let this man get in the open field. And with the confusion on the sidelines, it was obvious that they just said, look, let's just go to the basic option offense. Continue to resist putting the ball in the air.
3rd down and 26. Ball on the 40. Now
for crowd noise, they're going to take an official time. You know it's not going to be any quieter when they come back to the line of scrimmage.
Oklahoma with 2 timeouts remaining, Colorado with all 3. And you see the wind and the effect that it's having on the field with all the loose paper and articles eddying about. But against these 2 teams, Kyle, because they are wishbone football teams and don't put it in the air a lot, the only time the wind really comes into effect is when they go to the kicking game. We've had no field goal attempts so far, so that's not been a problem. The punters have been very active. Third down, 26 on the 40. Perry, Collins, and Carr are the running backs. Janelle Holloway. And the defense covers quickly. Trying to get the ball back to the offense. Tom Dunn, number 52, the first one.
On the replay, looking at the linebacker coverage, they're back about another 5 yards. There's the attempted block on 40 Remington, and the double team on the inside. Remington gets there, but the initial hit being made by Tom Dunn, 52, the offside or outside linebacker. They really kind of play, they call him an outside linebacker, but he plays much more like a defensive end.
Kyle, they have a task force that they've assigned to the field to pick up all the oranges that are being thrown about. We understand the significance of the game, but you don't have to throw the fruit on the field. Fourth down, 24. Campbell standing back at his 10. And the punt by Thomason is big and too far. And it'll be brought back out to the 20-yard line. You see remnants of some snow that they had earlier in the week. A 38-yard punt. And that's just about what Thompson has been averaging, but as I had mentioned before, he has strategically placed many of them. So, with 8 seconds to play in the third period, we've got Mark Walters in at quarterback for Colorado. Well, Walters has come in, and Hatcher's gone out.
Expect the ball in the air a little bit more.
Wind at his back. Fumble! And Hatcher recovered his own. His ball handling in his exchange has not been good. Troy Johnson pouncing on it, and that'll end the third quarter. So that'll end the quarter as Walters recovers his own. And at the end of 3, it's Oklahoma 14, Colorado nothing. It's a Big 8 beauty from Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado.
Fact. Americans are investing their money in unprecedented numbers.
Colorado, this is Folsom Field, and they packed him in here tonight, almost 52,000, I should say, this afternoon. And the punting game has been a factor because we've had no significant returns on the part of either team. Kissick now is in at fullback. Mark Walters trying to run, and he gets back close to the 20, maybe lost a yard or a half a yard. Richard Reed and Troy Johnson were the tacklers.
Well, we've got Eric Coyle and Bosworth. A flag was thrown where they were out duking it out in the secondary. And we'll see who they're going to call it against. Coyle, of course, the great center for Colorado. And Bosworth, that we've talked a lot about.
I can't believe those shoes that Bosworth has on as they're passing the American flag, unfurling it in the stands.
And while we were looking at the flag, they called the personal foul against Bosworth. So he loses the first round.
Well, he'd be a great bad guy in the wrestling circuit, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But he backs everything up. You got to give it to him. Sam Smith has come in as a running back for Colorado. There's the Boz. Will he be the Butkus Award winner? Will he decide to go and try his hand in the pros next year? Big decision. Walters on the give straight ahead to Weatherspoon. In the middle, Steve Bryan, the 260-pound senior, on the tackle.
Take a look at the previous play and show you perhaps look at what might have happened on the penalty. Take a look in the secondary behind the running of Mark Walters at the top right of the screen. There's Bosworth, there's Coyle, and now Bosworth is going to come over. And he's going to toss aside. And that's not a bad headlock.
2nd and 7. Busted play. Keep Walters. I don't know whether that was a broken play or not, but he turned around to make the give, and Weatherspoon had already passed him, so he had to run out on the other side, and Migliazzo made the stop. Walters appears to be a little confused.
Just short of the first down. He is a freshman, a true freshman.
The biggest surprise in their camp this year. He was listed way down number 4, and he passed up a couple of veterans, Alan Strait and Rick Wheeler. 3rd down, 1. He didn't make it. Well, I don't know if he made it. Weatherspoon trying to crack the middle, and Migliazzo was right there to put a hit on him. he may not have made it.
Now Walter sees where the linesman has put his foot. We'll take a look. And they're going to measure it anyway.
We're in the fourth quarter. There are 13 minutes and 24 seconds remaining in this ball game, and Colorado hanging right in there against the number 4 ranked Sooners of Barry Switzer.
First down by half the football.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Bill McCartney likes to hear you say that.
I don't know if we'll even be able to see it, but
oh, you're right. You must have been an accountant in another life.
Well, when you can't play the game anymore, you do what you can to stay around.
Break out the fiddles.
Oh,
if Keith Jackson's listening down on the sideline, break out your cello. Kyle is crying. First downs are close, though, aren't they? First and 10. Walters.
Another good pickup.
And he's trying to be a little bit more sure-handed on his exchange. That time with the glasses on him, he hung on with both hands while Witherspoon got yards and Bosworth made the tackle.
Those are good first down pickups. It's almost 5 yards on that pickup.
You know, Kyle, Bosworth could do what Evan Gatewood and Migliazzo, 2 of his linebacking buddies, have done. He could go on to graduate school if he decided to stay another year. Gatewood is in law school at Oklahoma. 2nd and 6. And Witherspoon, gang tackled by everyone over there. Man in the middle, however, is Dante Williams from Gainesville, Texas. Oh, they make a big dent in that Texas recruiting every year.
Take a look again at the quarterback handoff to Witherspoon. Continues to fight, and the good block up front on the offensive line, Bill Coleman. Number 75, who's a left guard. Redshirt freshman, started every game this season.
Big third down here, about 4 yards. And the Spoon with 51 yards rushing. We're blocking a fumble. Sam Smith, the running back for whom it was intended, I believe, covered his own.
I'll tell you what, they're going to have to go back to school. I say they, meaning Mark Walters, on this option offense in his steps, because this is the 3rd fumble. Fortunate they recovered 2 of the 3. We're taking a look at Bosworth now as he's trying to read through, and he moves up, plays off, doesn't even have to play off that block. Almost there to recover the fumble.
4th down and 8, Kyle. Be prepared here as Helton is in the ball game. Brown and Dixon are back. There's what I mean. And Oklahoma will take over. It looked like a little indecisiveness there. They have a play in their package where they could fake kick.
Troy Johnson just got in there, and he along with Steve Bryan. And Helton knew it was going to be blocked, and that's why he pulled it off.
And good coverage that time by Oklahoma, and they will take over. An excellent field position for our local cable systems. We want to let you know that we'll be coming your way shortly, so hang with us and we'll throw it to you at the appropriate time. Oklahoma 14, Colorado nothing. Jamel Holloway is the quarterback. And they give to Lydell Carr. And what a big move he made off the right side behind Johnson and Phillips blocks. Mickey Pruitt again, the junior from Chicago. The mistakes has not made in the 5 games with the afternoon.
By DeLuzio and Tom Reinhardt. And we're still coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado, where right now the Sooners with 10-10 and ticking, leading at 14-0. Carr now with 83 yards, and they break the bone. Second down. 45-yard line, tackled by John Nairn. Now how important is that punt that they couldn't get off?
They seal on the inside so well. Earl Johnson, number 5. Here's 5. He'll hook on the inside and allow Holloway to move up the field. Of course, as always, good outside blocking by the receivers. And if you can keep the pursuit on the inside, and as we mentioned, OU loves to attack you on the perimeter.
Holloway with 109 yards and 16 carries. His club leading 14-0, and they're on the 3. Holloway with a wishbone, and he'll give it over
to the running back, Tillman. Fumble! And the ball in the end zone. Who recovered it? Tillman hit at the 2. The ball was fumbled. It bounded into the end zone, and Oklahoma has recovered it. The indication that it's a touchdown for Oklahoma. Talk about taking advantage of the breaks.
Well, not sure how much they're taking advantage of them, but they're certainly following their way. And good teams tend to create. Let's take a look again. We'll see if we can see the fumble. And on the backside, Spencer Tillman in the air. The ball pops out, falls down on the ground. And who is there? Looks like Keith Jackson, 88, to recover. And that indeed appears to be the man that's got the touchdown for the Sooners.
So Jackson, the tight end, gets his touchdown, recovering in the end zone on the fumble by Tillman. And now Lasher will come in to add the extra point. And Oklahoma's got it 21-0. So Oklahoma has really had some breaks here on a couple of turnovers, and they lead it big. Our local systems will get this one. We'll pause for these messages. 9:29 to play in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma has taken advantage of the second major turnover by the Colorado Buffaloes and now lead 21-0. Drive went 4 plays, 38 yards, just over a minute. Jackson on the recovery. And now they're going to have to kick off here to the Buffaloes in the fourth quarter. And a crowd in excess of capacity, 52,000, starts to chuck a few more oranges down onto this artificial turf. Kyle, earlier in the game you mentioned, we talked about the turf, that there may be a change. What were you alluding to?
Well, one reason that people are doing it is because of the injuries, the orthopedic stress injuries that are occurring to the players. And with the artificial turf, they're going to go to something that started in Washington when George Allen was coaching the Redskins, and it's called PAT turf that has a mesh underneath the grass, has underneath a watering system so you can water the grass from underneath. Also has heating coils to keep the turf warm during the frozen times in the winter. Also here at Mile High Stadium, just up the road about 40 miles in Denver, they have a similar type turf. It will also tend to help defend against wishbone teams like OU that rely so much on speed and having to cut at corners.
All right, they'll kick it off with Todd Thompson. He's been busy. Nelson and Pontiflet are back deep. We have 9:29 to play in the ball game. That is Pontiflet. One man to beat, and can't. And out at the 45-yard line.
Ricky Dixon makes the touchdown-saving tackle for Oklahoma on the kickoff. Little cross action up front, and the lead block, good lead block by M.J. Nelson. And there again is the tackle we mentioned from Oklahoma, Ricky Dixon, 29.
Erich Kissick also in there to help with the block, and Hatcher now the quarterback on a 40-yard return. Fake to Weatherspoon, keep Hatcher, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Richard Reed, a 255-pound senior, right there to stop it. Well, our video problems have been cleared up, and we appreciate your patience. We're live from Boulder. 9 minutes to play in the game. You saw that impressive graphic that we just showed you. Lance Carl is in at a wide receiver. Mike Mantle has replaced Darrell Reed defensively for the Sooners. Hatcher. And as he turns back, the pursuit is so big and so quick. And they force you back inside to the flow, and again, stopping on the run. Bosworth in the middle of things again. along with Richard Reed.
Weatherspoon actually misses a good opportunity to block against Boz. There's Weatherspoon, 44, going against Bosworth, and Bosworth's quickness and speed just shut Weatherspoon off, which allows for the tackle.
Kyle again, Bosworth with those shoulders squared, always in a perfect position to make a hit. 3rd down and 5. And it'll be a 4th down situation as they can get nothing going.
Guess who put on the pressure?
Something to keep in mind. Oklahoma already has 4 shutouts this year. They have shut out 3 of their last 4 opponents. Impressive.
Bosworth loves to fill gaps. There's a gap, he'll fill it. Comes up. They like him on pass rush. He is so quick and has such good timing that most of the time they'll leave Dante Jones or Paul Migliazzo back in pass coverage.
And a bad punt here by Barry Helton. Well, you don't see that happen very often. He just missed one that time and squirted off the side of the foot. And that is the fellow that was the number 2 punter in the nation last year and right up there among the leaders this year. Only a 12-yard punt, and his team trailing 21-0. Prizes, and one of them, Michigan, trailing Minnesota in the 4th, 17-10. Oh boy!
And to add to that, it may be already over Ohio State and Wisconsin.
It is.
Ohio State 30-17.
That'll set up a big game. Here's Patrick Collins for the Sooners, and they stay to the ground. They've yet to attempt to pass. They haven't made any mistakes. They're leading 21-0, and Colorado has played as hard as they can. And with the exception of the 2 mistakes that Colorado has made, they haven't played a bad football game.
No, they
either.
haven't.
Collins busted one loose for 17 yards, and they try and diagram something on the side. What does that look like, Kyle?
Looks like a pass pattern.
They're going to have to pull out some stops. And on the drive up the middle, McCarty was right there to pull down the ball carrier. And he just bang away in the middle. That's Earl Johnson. He's 205. Lydell Carr's 225. Where do they get these kids? They just keep bringing them up, don't they?
Go south of the Red River.
They must drink that Red River.
Well, they go down in Texas. That's where they get most of them.
Yeah, that's got to hurt some of those other schools. Here's a final score. How about that one? Ooh, does that Ohio State-Michigan game look humongous now? 21-0 here. And the quick hitter up the middle. Great trap blocking inside. Earl Johnson again. And all they do is just eat up that clock.
Well, there's not much Colorado can do. They've been able to move the ball on the ground much better than most teams have been able to do against Oklahoma.
Colorado had hoped to be able to pull off the almost impossible double, beating Nebraska and Oklahoma at home in the same year. They've done it twice before. Holloway. You hit him hard, he just bumps and bounces and rolls. Pick a name. Arthur Walker. Give him credit for a tackle. Also, right there is Barry Remington. Some days his vision is 20/40. Other days it's 20/60. It's been as bad as 20/100. He's really got a problem there, and it's almost always foggy. He wears, now he's taking the goggles off. That's the first time he's done that. But he may have to have that surgery after the season. Whistles and flags. And Oklahoma now just very content to try and do as much as they can to eat up as much of the clock as they can.
Well, I'd hate to be the official there because both teams were so aggressive at the snap of the ball. Call it against OU. Look at the right side of the line, the guard and tackle, they both break before the snap. And thus the accurate call, Phillips and Greg Johnson.
OU penalties are starting to build up now. Aubrey King has come in to replace Keith Jackson at a tight end for the Sooners. We will have a game, and an exciting one for you next week on USA Sports. A lot of that depended on the outcome of other games today. Patrick Collins, the fastest of the Sooners. Solomon Wilcox and David Tate were there, but what speed by Pat Collins.
And on the sideline, Switzer is there, Bosworth is there. They don't just like to win, they want to destroy. There's a sadistic nature to some of the OU players, I think. It's not enough to just win. They want to make sure they win the scoring offense category in the NCAA this year. And Collins, the speed.
21-0 in the fourth. Oklahoma. They've stayed on the ground all day. And there's little Holloway. Well, you take away the passing game, but you have what amounts to 4 running backs in there, the way this fella carries the ball.
And you got the #1 offensive line still on the field, playing the game for OU. Setting up the blocks. Another good block, Earl Johnson taking Schubeck out.
And now they spot the ball on the 11-yard line. Derek Shepard comes out of the lineup. And a wide receiver, and he is replaced by Aubrey King. So they go on a 2nd and 1 with another tight end and overload the right side. Spencer Tillman, Koch wraps him up top. And it'll be a 1st down and goal, I believe, by the time they unravel this one. Here's Tillman. He's had all kinds of injury problems as a sophomore and then as a junior, and has been pretty much injury-free this year. The senior from Tulsa.
He could just learn how to speak well. He would really be something.
Yep.
Did you hear him at halftime? My goodness.
He's a very articulate young man. I mean, he'd like to go into the communication arts.
Well, I hope he makes it in pro football then. I don't want to see him up here next to you next year.
Oh, my goodness. This week on Wednesday Night Fights, USA Sports offers co-main events. First, you'll see the USBA Junior Welterweight title fight as Frankie Warren squares off against Aussie O'Neill. And you'll see the '84 Olympian Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker going against Victor Acosta. Wednesday Night Fights from Harrah's by the Bay in Atlantic City. Live at 8 Eastern. Same day coverage on the West Coast. Right here on USA Sports. 4:10 to play here in the ball game. Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on that Penn State Notre Dame game today. That'll be a good one. Lou Holtz, a big game coach against Penn State. Joe Paterno. Possibility we may see you at Penn State next week. 21-0. Under 4 to play. Collins.
Untouched.
Yeah, he can turn around, smile, autograph that one, take a bow, do whatever he wants because he deserved it. His 2nd touchdown of the afternoon.
Kyle Rappold trying to get up off the ground. He has had such an energy-filled afternoon, has fought and battled, and that is the tragedy of a game like today when you've got teams that have gone out and really done great battle, and yet the Colorado defense has played well today. Just have not had any breaks on the offensive side of the team.
Shut them down in the 3rd, but they bounced back with a couple more here in the 4th, and Lasher again has added another extra point. So Lasher's on a roll. He has 4 today, 133 for the year. And right now, without knowing what Van Tiffin is about to do for Alabama, he is the #1 leader all time. Consecutive point after tries. The first quarter, we were just talking about Penn State Notre Dame. We have a score for you. It's 7-0 in the first quarter. There's a pretty good chance that next week you'll see the Nittany Lions right here on USA College Football 86 as the Pitt Panthers travel up there to Happy Valley. And let me tell you what, that is always one of the great games in college football year to year. There's a natural rivalry there. They're vying for recruiting, and there's a lot on the line. So that's probably where we're going to be, and we would like to urge you to check your local listings so that you'll have a good idea for sure that we're going to be there and at what time. Next week on USA.
You've enjoyed the linebacker play today at Bosworth. Shane Conlon is there. Also Tony Woods, who actually plays defensive end, but he'll be a linebacker in the pros, and he'll be playing for Pitt.
That's Poniflet picking it up after he had knocked it down for Colorado. And with less than 4 minutes to play all over the football, now things get a little bit out of hand, unruly over there. Coach Bill McCartney getting a little nervous about his players. He's trying to maintain the utmost of decorum And he wants to make sure that they keep this on a sportsmanship level, which is way above par. Derek White was involved.
Wait a minute, say that again. They want to keep it on a sportsmanlike level, which is way above par?
That's right.
Are you saying that because Barry Switzer left his #1 offense on the field until 4 minutes left to go in the game, leading 21-0?
Well, I think that, you know, in defense,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
Don't put me on the spot like that. Barry Switzer won last week 77-0.
And unfortunately, at the other end of the field, we have one of the cheerleaders who's been injured, perhaps by something thrown in from the stands, which is tragic.
I think that's exactly what happened, Jim. You know, maybe at some point someone will get the idea that they're not supposed to throw things down on the field. And this is very unfortunate if that's the case. They, as I had mentioned, had a task force of people out there picking up oranges and articles that had been discarded on the field. Well, evidently, this young person went out there to pick something up and may have gotten hit. I don't care if you throw a marshmallow out there from the upper deck here. By the time it gets down there, it's going to make you feel it. And now they're tending to the person.
This man, Bill McCartney, with his mind on what he's going to say to his troops post-game. They have done an awful lot of what they needed to do. We talked about the formula that was necessary to beat Oklahoma. It included a lot of time of offensive possession. They've had that. It included a relatively lower scoring game, which they had until just a few minutes ago. But it also included no turnovers, which has not been the case. The fumble, the interception, the 4th down, Helton having to run instead of the punt because it was going to be blocked. Really 3 turnovers, though it won't look that way on the stat sheet, and 0 for Oklahoma.
And of course also utilizing their one strength, and that was their punting game. And for Oklahoma, give them credit, they have had the better of that, even though maybe not longer distances in terms of yards, but strategically placing their punts in a position where Colorado had to really dig themselves out of their own ends, to try and get the thing down the other end of the field.
And in terms of field position, OU getting the ball 3 times in Colorado territory. The best field position for Colorado the whole game was this last possession when they had it at their own 41. Prior to that, they had it on the 1-yard line, the 6-yard line, the 14-yard line, the 18-yard line. 4 or 5 possessions inside their own 20. Makes a big, big difference.
There's Barry Switzer looking at going 13-1 career against Colorado. And for the season, 9-1 overall and an undefeated record going into the Big 8 clash next week with Nebraska. Now, you know, Nebraska can still bounce back and win a ball game next week and kind of throw things into a cocked hat again. But nevertheless, you got to really give a lot of credit here to this Oklahoma team. They have been terrific all year long, with the exception of that tough game that they played at Miami when they were completely outplayed.
And certainly a lot of thinking going along by all the Bull scouts that are here. We've got 7 in attendance with us today. But more than likely, a lot of decisions going to be delayed until the 29th, particularly watching the end of the Alabama-Auburn game in terms of the Sugar Bowl. And the Fiesta still in there trying to get the Miami-Penn State battle.
You know, we talked a little bit about Bosworth and then mentioned Shane Conlon of Penn State. You've got to add Cornelius Bennett into the mix as to who is going to be the man that ends up with that Butkus Award. Whatever, there are even 4 or 5 others that are really prominent linebackers. But it is impressive to be able to bring to our viewing audience the play of people like a Bosworth and next week a Shane Conlon, if in fact that's who we see, and be able to point out things as we've seen today from Bosworth about the way he sets up, his form, his abilities. This is good basic fundamental football, and that's why they're leading candidates. Don't want to speculate any more than what we have seen. I have no idea as to how extreme this case is, but if it in fact was somebody that was hit by an article, that is a very, very unfortunate situation. The trail of a missing child. I'll tell you about that. 28-0 with 3:44 to play in the game. Hatcher, and complete to Weatherspoon. Evan Gatewood, the tackler, to the 25, or just short of the 25-yard line. Brian Bosworth has come off the field for Oklahoma. And there's Anthony Weatherspoon. That's O.C. Oliver close to the 30-yard line.
Well, they've got pretty much the #2 defense in there now for Oklahoma. A couple of secondary players on the first team still on the field, but otherwise giving the backups a chance to get some time on the field.
Lonnie Finch, who we've not heard much of today, is in at a left corner position defensively. 2:54 to play in the ball game. John Embry is not in there right now for Colorado. Mark Hatcher. And intended for O.C. Oliver, and he couldn't hang on. He had 3 receptions prior to today. There's the Boz.
Well, see, he saw what happened to the cheerleader, so he's kept his helmet on. He doesn't normally do that this late in the game.
And there is O.C. with a lot of time to play here at Colorado. Now John Embry will come back on, and out of the game will come Drew Ferrando. Bosworth and the Sooners have yet to give up a rushing touchdown in 1986. That is some feat. Good run by Hatcher to the 40-yard line, and a fumble.
He was stripped on the tackle.
And after all that, it's recovered by Oklahoma. Paul Migliazzo, number 42.
He has been, again, one of those with Bosworth getting all the attention. Migliazzo has done a good job of taking a look at Hatcher now on the field, who had the ball stripped on the tackle. We'll take a look. Here's Hatcher. False step option in there on the outside. Oliver's there for the pitch. Hatcher will move up the field. Migliazzo coming from the linebacker slot will come back in. And there's the tackle. He falls down. Migliazzo gets the recovery. The tackle made by the defensive secondary. There's a helmet on the ball. And again, not a good day for Colorado, as that is really their 4th turnover. 2nd fumble, 1 interception, and the 4th down missed punt.
That means that Eric Mitchell will have to come back into the ball game for the Colorado Buffaloes, trailing 28-0 with 2:31 to play in the 4th quarter. Coming in now for Oklahoma, pardon me. So he will start at the quarterback. They take over on another turnover. And there's Mr. Mitchell. Very nice young runner, Eric McCarty. Attack. Look at the Boz signing autographs on the side. The Boz. See something?
They built a snowman down in the end zone yesterday. It didn't seem very concerned about the game, which is when he said it would take absolute trick plays or luck for Colorado to score on them. This now closing in within 2 minutes of 4 games out of 5 in which they've had a shutout, and that other game only gave up 3 points.
Mitchell has to reverse. Look at this. Oh. It was Brad Robinson who got all over him, but
talked about him as an athlete, and we'll see the ability, like Holloway, to come out and pull himself out of tackles. Comes back on the backside. Mickey Pruitt, who's a very good secondary man, missed the first tackle, and finally the collapsing defense of Colorado gets him for another big loss.
Another one that got away from the University of Arkansas. Stafford, Smitherman, and Rodney Anderson are now in the backfield offensively for Oklahoma. Down to 1:08 to play in the ball game. And there is a whistle.
Run out of time. Took too much time.
Delay a game coming up. Take it back 5. The Oklahoma's rolled up a few penalties here in the second half. But it has certainly not affected the outcome of this game.
Talked about the youth of Colorado. Oklahoma is not that old. They're only going to lose 8 players this year off this team. Continue to have players come in and fill the gaps.
Reverse. Tight end. And coming up through there, Duncan Parham that time. Tackled by Brad Robinson and Eric McCarty.
So big, 6'5", right about 250 pounds. His palm, he got it right on the hip.
He's hurt. He's down. He is just a sophomore. And they closed in on him. They hit him from the side. And we'll be back to tell you more with 56 seconds remaining, and the Sooners up 28-0. Showing why they are one of the best, 28-0 with 56 seconds to play here in Boulder, Colorado. The game in the last 10 years. And it's ended up being all Oklahoma as they look to be about to shut out another opponent. Back to punt for them right now is Todd Thompson. And he, in my mind, has really had a big play in this game today. He has enabled his team to start Colorado off in deep field position. Colorado will send one man back, and that'll be Jeff Campbell. He'll stand at his 10. Long count.
He has no help either.
And they just missed downing another one inside the 5-yard line. So it becomes almost academic. 48 seconds to play here in the ball game. Thompson's had a terrific day, and yes, he should get more than just a couple of slaps on the helmet and a few handshakes. He's really been good.
Looks across the field to Barry Helton and says, "Today I got you." Not many people have been able to say that. Helton out kicking his opposing punter 8 out of the 9 games coming into today.
Colorado giving it another shot right here. And it's Walters starting off, and he's going to throw. And intended for Lance Carl. He overthrows him and bumped on the far side of the field by Oklahoma. As they start clearing off some of the other folks on the bench and give some people some playing time, and that time it was Kevin Thompson, the defensive back. There's Walters. .41 seconds to play in the game. Colorado will go to Kansas State with a 5-1 Big 8 record. And Oklahoma will go to Nebraska 6-0.
And both those games very important, as Colorado has got to win that game next week to have a chance to go to a bowl.
And Nebraska's got to do something also.
Another fumble. And Oklahoma's got the ball.
Boy, they put some serious hits on the Colorado kids here today. That's the 3rd fumble that they've really been able to give themselves good field position on.
Take a look back for Colorado. Walters spins up, doesn't tuck the ball away, and it's knocked out.
Tony Woods is there. Mike Aljo was the man that popped the ball loose. There he is, number 55, Aljo. 28-0. 34 seconds to play in the ball game. And it looks like we'll be at Penn State next week, but please check your local listings.
They're going to run it.
Eric Mitchell. And Mitchell will give it over the middle that time. Running back. Tackled by Andrew Walker. And there he is right there. That's Rodney Anderson.
Well, they did not have to run another play.
I don't think it would be too advisable to try and take it in another time here.
You got everybody on the sidelines, including Switzer, saying,
"Now they're going to leave." Well, Barry says that's it.
Yeah.
I want no more. He's coming over. He'll shake Bill McCartney's hand. And Oklahoma is exactly what they were coming in. They're number 4 or better. That's an excellent football team. And they have now taken their record 9-1 overall, 6-0 in the Big 8. With a solid performance here this afternoon. Basically, they took away from that man, Bill McCartney, what he was hoping to do with his own team, and that is create turnovers. Final score, Oklahoma 28, Colorado nothing. 28-0 over Colorado, and the man that engineered the drives today, Jamel Holloway, with over 120 yards rushing.
Jamel, Barry Switzer was very...
I can't hear you.
Yeah, your coach Switzer was very coy before the game. He said there weren't too many things he was concerned about. What did he tell you about Colorado, and did they play the way you expected?
Yeah, they played really good, really well, that is, throughout the whole game, and we just got all kind of breaks. And the things that he told us were to keep our poise, and everything would take care of itself.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to be with us. Let you go in and celebrate with your guys. Eddie Doucette has one quick question for you.
Jamel, you get poked in the eye. Was everything okay after they took care of you on the sideline?
No, I mean, after that, when I look up in the sun, I would see double vision. So I just tried not to look up in the sun and just keep my eyes on the ground.
All right, well, take care of that eye. You may be seeing double Nebraska next week. You got a big game ahead.
You bet the Buffaloes are seeing double nightmares of red right now. Thanks, Jamel, for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, Jamel Holloway and the University of Oklahoma. They came in number 4, and they are all of that and better. Next week, it looks like we're going to be at Happy Valley for Penn State and Pitt. And that means we're going to see some outstanding talent, including DJ Dozier and Shane Conlon, who we had already talked about. Please check your local listings for the game and the time in your area. Also, we want to thank everybody that have helped us here today. They've done an outstanding job, particularly our statistician, David McCullough, and our spotters in the ball game, Scott Zabetis and Dimitri Gianaris. They've done a terrific job, much better than I did reading their names. Oklahoma a winner, and today's game was brought to you by Jeep. There's a feeling you get only in a Jeep. And by Winchester. Load up with the legend. Sports coats provided by Tailored Classics from Levi Strauss & Company. The executive producer for USA Sports is Jim Zrake. Our producer today, Gary Dubin. Our director, Kent Samuel. Our associate producers, Kevin Landy, Tim Rapley, and Kathy Hunt. Our assistant director in the booth, Tom Craig. Our production manager, Barbara Travers. And our executive in charge of production, Dick Ross. College Football 86 is a presentation of USA Sports. So long.